Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So it is coming on December. We have just a few more days. Our Thanksgiving is on Thursday. This is Monday night, so just a couple of days left for Thanksgiving, and then a couple of days after that, and then December. I just can't believe how quickly the fall season, the fall months have gone by, and now here we are into the winter month of December. I'm definitely a cold weather girl, and so I am thankful that we do have some cold weather coming ahead of us here for a few more months, but I just don't want it to go by so fast. So I'm sitting out here on my porch because it is only about 40 degrees outside, but it feels so nice. I live in Northwest Arkansas, which is in a southern part of the US, and it just gets so hot and humid here. And so when it gets cold, I'm just like, yes, I'm gonna live it up. So I'm sitting outside here in short sleeves and being thankful for the cooler weather while we have it. All right, anyway, on to the books. So I want to share with you guys everything that I'm going to be reading in the month of December, or that I plan to anyway, the stuff that's on my TBR and pile of possibilities. Who knows if I'll ever get to it all, right? But it's just fun to dream. My goals this year, I'm doing okay on them. It's more that some of them just don't matter anymore as much as they did. So that's great too, that I'm not like stressing myself out about, not keeping promises that I made to myself. I said that I was going to read a play and more poetry, and I haven't done either one. Just a little bit of poetry here and there. But it doesn't seem to be as important to me like it was at the end of last year. And so, I don't know, I might add that to my New Year goals. We'll see. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. We don't have to think about that yet. But I did give myself a goal to read 80 books this year, and I'm on 63. And that's okay. I'll be surprised if I hit 80 books, because I think this is the 25th of November, right? So I have only got like 5 weeks left. So I don't know if I'm going to hit that many. They'd have to be some thin, easy reading, but maybe, you never know. But I'm kind of okay with that, just because the reason why I gave myself a higher goal than normally I give myself a goal of 50 books. And then this year I was like, okay, I know I can read at least 60 because I'm doing a lot more reading and a lot less scrolling. Yay. But I thought, well, at the beginning of the year, like the end of last year, beginning of this year, I was doing a lot more listening to audiobooks. And now, instead of listening to audiobooks, I'm just listening to other booktubers. And so that's okay, right? I gave myself that bigger goal because I thought that I would be doing more audiobooks, and I'm actually not. But because I've been listening to booktube, like, that's kind of even better. So totally fine. Okay, so I am actually going to participate in one reading event in December. I'm going to try to wrap it all up by the second week of December and move on to some other things. But I put up a video a couple of days ago-ish, and it was on the reading event that's coming up called A Ghost of Christmas Past, Resurrecting a Tradition. And that is being put on by Vin and Revenant Reads, along with several wonderful co-hosts. I'll put all that stuff down in the description box if you guys want to check that out. Now, those of you who have been following me for a while or know me personally are thinking, what is Sarah doing? Because I don't read spooky stuff, I don't read scary stories, and I don't do Christmas. So like, why would I be interested in this this little event here? But I'm not going to give any more details. You guys go watch that video. But I also won't talk about all those books here in this video because I talk about them in that video. So the first part of my December is going to be dedicated to the study that I'm trying to do regarding that reading event, and answering some questions for myself, things I have interest in regarding that event. Okay, so that's the first part of December. So then I did my TBR game where I have a little cup and I pick the number, and I explained all that like in August, I think, about my TBR game that I started. And so I chose 4 books this month from the TBR game. I choose until I get up to 1,000 pages, or approximately. So I think there's 1,086 in these 4 books. And don't they look nice? Like, they're sort of color coordinated, right? Like, they look great on a shelf. You got these golds and these oranges and black and kind of tan and, a little white. I just think it's kind of a good little mix there. But they were all chosen randomly from my TBR shelves. So let's go into them. The first one is called All Among the Barley by Melissa Harrison. This is a book that I picked up at the Guildhall in Bath when I was there in May. And it takes place in the 1930s, and there's basically a young girl. She lives on a farm, and someone from the city, from London, comes in, and she's going to write about like this farm life, I think is what's going on here. Maybe she's like a magazine girl or whatever, and she's going to write an article, a story about farm life, and she befriends this young girl who lives on the farm, but the young girl finds out she's not all she's cracked up to be, and so it kind of tells a maybe coming of age story that takes place all among the barley. So that one's one I'm going to be reading. The next one is a nonfiction. This is called Is There a Nutmeg in the House? This is by Elizabeth David. And this is like part cookbook, part kitchen commentary. So it has a ton of recipes in it, but it tells stories about them, right? So this is about cheese pudding. This is a very old English dish and a very useful one, something like a souffle, la 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 la. She's talking about the recipe, but then I'm assuming she also like gives you the recipe. So I love reading stuff like this. It's so atmospheric. It's so this is a great time of year to read about food, right? Because in the summertime, if you live where I live, you don't even want to think about the fact that there's anything in your house that could even raise the temperature 1 degree. And so cooking, all of the kitchen inspiration and stuff, that all happens in the late fall and winter time. Anyway, so I'll read through this, and this will be a fun read and inspiring, I'm sure. All right, next up is Daniel Defoe's A Journal of the Plague Year. Now, I just right off the bat got a little like, ooh, because my son and I are reading Robinson Crusoe, and it's tough. Like, it's some really old English in here, and not so great on the punctuation there, Daniel Defoe, and the spelling, right, is different from how we spell things now. And so I'm reading it out loud to my son, and it's fun. When I get in the rhythm of it, then I'm good, right? And so anyway, the plague year, this is Daniel Defoe writing about 1665, when the plague came through London. And it says that it's both a fascinating historical document and a supreme work of imaginative reconstruction. So I don't know how much of this is actual what he saw and experienced, and how much of it is him putting what he saw and experienced into a fictionalized or partially fictionalized tale. The copyright page here doesn't seem to make it look like it's completely a nonfiction. You know how it usually like will tell you all the information of where to find it in the library? Like, that's not here. So we'll see. But I do think that I'm going to be very interested in this, and I think that once I get into the rhythm of, his writing, I think I could probably go through it pretty quickly because the topic interests me very much. All right, and then the fourth one, this is a book, I don't even know where I picked this up or why, but it's called A Spinner in the Sun by Myrtle Reed. It's a story that was published in 1906, and I don't have any idea what this is about. This woman only lived to be 37 years old. She died of a drug overdose in 1911, but she has quite a repertoire of books that she wrote in the meantime, including a few cookbooks. She also wrote under the pseudonym of Olive Green. So if you are familiar with Olive Green or Myrtle Reed, obviously she was very earthy. Yeah, this is something else by her. It says it's published by Dodo Press of the UK, that specializes in rare and out of print books. It must have been recommended to me at one point, and I just like grabbed it off of Amazon or something and put it on my TBR shelf. But so that's on my list too. So we'll read through that and see what we think of A Spinner in the Sun. All right, and then so that is my 4 books that I need to read for my TBR game. If I don't finish them, then I gotta get rid of them. If I do finish them, I gotta do something with them. They can't go back on the TBR shelf no matter what. So if it's something that I start reading and I decide I want to DNF it, then I need to actually unhaul it. I need to give it away, sell it, trade it, whatever, put it in a little free library. I can't put it back on my TBR shelf for later if I don't finish it by the end of the month. But if it is something that I know I'm going to want to come back to, it's a classic, it's something that I know other people in my family will want to read, or something for reference like the Daniel Defoe book on the plague, and I don't finish it, then I can either continue reading it in the next month, or I can put it on one of my, I can put it into my permanent collection, which is, all the rest of the shelves in my library besides those 2 TBR shelves. So I can keep it, I just can't keep it back on that shelf. So that's what I'm doing for that little challenge that I've given myself. And then I have 2 books that I would like to get to just because one of them I keep saying that I'm going to, and that is The Story of My Life by Helen Keller. I keep saying I'm going to read this book. I was going to read it for Nonfiction November and didn't. It still does fit for Historathon Quarter 4, which we are still in, and none of these that I have, this Elizabeth David book technically it's something that takes place in this era and is a nonfiction, but it doesn't really, I don't think that's it doesn't fit within my goals for Historathon anyway, but Story of My Life would. So I think I really will try to read this before the end of the year. But I am noticing that the second half of it is letters. So the first part of it is Story of My Life. It's actually her story. The second part is lots of letters. And so I think that I will tell myself that I can at least read The Story of My Life this month to read for Nonfiction November, and then I can save the second half of this for January because there is an event going on called Epistolary January. And so I may save the second half of this, the letters section, to read during that epistolary in January. Okay, and then the other book that I would like to read in December, at least before the end of the year, is this. This is Before Your Memory Fades. If you guys watched, I don't know, I think it was my first November check-in, my first week check-in video, I read the book called Before the Coffee Gets Cold by the same author, very similar cover. And anyway, I read that, and then my 15-year-old daughter wanted to read it. My mother wanted to read it. So I let my 15-year-old daughter read it, and then getting ready to send it to my mom. But my daughter, Avalon, she enjoyed it, and we are both kind of on this kick. There's this weird, I don't know if it's weird, but it seems kind of weird, little trope, thing that's going around where it's like a book translated from the Japanese featuring a cat, featuring a little bit of magical realism, and just kind of a simple story that maybe isn't even all that great. And for some reason, she and I are eating them up. And so anyway, so I want to read this here pretty soon so that my daughter Avalon can read it, right? Because I am still, what's the word? Vetting the things she reads. If they're, on an adult level, I kind of want to read through it first. So anyway, I'd like to get through that. It's not much. It's just a book of 4 stories. So it's pretty easy. And then the third part of my December reading is preparation for what I'm going to be doing in January, which is Nathanuary. So in January, I host an event called Nathanuary, and it's an event all about Nathaniel Hawthorne, who I adore. Not only is he super good looking for being over 270 years old, but he's also just a really fantastic storyteller. I like the stories that he tells. He tells stories that are set in New England, but they all sort of deal with religious hypocrisy and religious hypocrisy. That's a great, just summing it up. And that is a topic that is very interesting to me. Again, it goes down the cultural anthropology road, but also just it's not somebody I want to be, right? I am a Bible believing person and I don't want to be a hypocrite. And so there's a lot to learn from the writings of Nathaniel Hawthorne about that subject. His great few greats back grandfather. He was somebody involved in the Salem witch trials, and I think that some of Hawthorne's writings is kind of his, way of sort of redeeming himself or separating away from that bad name. Anyway, I host an event in January called Nathaniel. We read something by Nathaniel Hawthorne, and then I'm going to be doing a few videos just talking about various stuff, and hopefully if you are not a fan, you will be by the end of the month. And so I went to read some more from this storybook. It's called Nathaniel Hawthorne's Tales. It's something I got when I was taking a college class like 15 years ago or something. And that's when I was really first introduced to him outside of the Scarlet Letter. And I just love these stories so much. And so I read through them a lot. Every year I read a little bit. But I'm going to read through some of these and write up some stuff and film some stuff so that I have some stuff to show you guys in January. So I'll be reading through that. And then finally, I have 3 books here that I have decided just to slowly go through 2025 and not focus too much on all of those other like plays and short stories and poetry and all of the stuff that I said that I wanted to do this year that I didn't do. These are 3, 2 of them I've already started and 1 I want to start reading, and I'm just going to focus on these. I'm going to keep them in my reading basket, and I'm just going to focus on reading a little bit from them throughout the year until I get through one of them. And then whatever one I get through, I'm going to replace it with a poem book that my mom sent to me. I talked about in my birthday video, and start going through that slowly. So the first one is Emily Bronte's Complete Poems. I got this last year in December, and I just have not got through it very far, but she is my favorite writer, and I do enjoy her poems, and so I just really need to have it kind of right there front and center in my face to remember to read through it. The second one is the one I haven't started yet, and these are the works of Anne Bradstreet, who was a pilgrim. She was one of the American colonists, and so she has some poetry, maybe some prose as well, or just super long poems it looks like. But these are some of her writings, and I thought that I would be interested in going through those. I actually pulled it out on, what would that have been, Q3 of Historathon, and just never even got to it. So that'll kind of be something I may look at. And then also the Big Old Book of Grimm's Fairy Tales that my mom gave me when I was a little girl. I've had this book, I don't know, my whole life as far as I know, and all kinds of crazy Grimm's fairy tales in here. And so I went to read through these. Again, I think I may have read a lot of them, but it's been like, 35, 40-ish years. I don't remember them. I just remember that they weren't like the Disney cartoons, and so I just thought that they were spooky. All right, so that is my reading plan for December. It looks like a lot, but it's I think it's going to be okay. It's definitely not the 17 or whatever books that I said I need to do to get up to my 80. So that's okay. We'll just see how it goes. And who knows, I might surprise myself. But I'm happy with this reading plan, and I'm really looking forward to December reading. In fact, I have just finished all of my plans for November, all of the ones that I really, wanted to knock off and get done for November. And I've still got like 5 days left of November. And so I may even dig into some of this early and give myself a little head start. I hope everybody's doing really good. Let me know what your plans are for December in the comments below. What kind of things are you thinking about for the new year for your goals? Because here pretty soon I'm going to be setting my New Year's goals, and maybe I need a little inspiration. So talk to me in the comments, say hi. Hope everybody's doing really good, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.